Hello everybody. This video will be about arrays in C++. This will be an introduction of how to use arrays in C++, how to declare arrays, define them, and use them. So I'm assuming you already know about variables. So we can store a single value in a variable, but say you want to have like some collection of data and you want to encapsulate that into a single entity. And you can refer to that entity and do whatever you want with that collection of data, all these data, just by referring to that single thing, instead of having to have multiple variables declared. And that would be kind of tedious to do operations where you would declare 100 variables, for example, and you would have to go through and type each of these variables' name 100 times. That's not really cool. That's why we have arrays. So let's start off by declaring an array of integers. The way you declare arrays in C++ is first you say the type of the array. So let's say int, and then you say the name. Let's say integers, and then you have to specify what's the size in brackets. So I want this array of integers to have how many elements? Say I want it to have like 6 elements. So I would say it like this, and just by doing this and a semicolon, that will declare the array. We can also declare and at the same time initialize it and give it some initial element values. So to do that, you separate it, the values, you comma separate them, and use braces. Okay, so you put braces, and then let's say the first element would be 1, second is 4, 3, 8, 4, 13. That's 5, then one more, say 22. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, up to 6 elements. So make sure to match the number of elements here to the number here. The array size is 6, therefore I need to initialize it with 6 elements. So I have 6 integers here. So remember, it's an array of integers. You give it a name, I gave it integers, and you have to specify the size in brackets. And if you want to initialize, use the assignment operator, equal sign, and you put the values surrounded by braces, and then you finish the statement of a semicolon that will declare and define an array of integers of size 6. That is, there are 6 elements, and you call it integers. Now you can do whatever you want with that array. So let's go on and try to display the elements. How do I access the elements of the array? So to access array elements, you just say the array name, and you put the element name in brackets, but for this case, you start counting elements from 0. So the first element in the array will be referred to array sub 0, the second element array sub on, and so on all the way up to the last element. Since the size here is 6, the last element has to be 6 minus 1, which is 5, because we start counting from 0. So array sub 5 will be the last element in this case, and let's change the name to the correct name here. So integers sub 5 would be referring to this one, which is 22. If I had integer sub 0, that would refer to the first element of the array called integers, which is 1. If I had 2, for example. Now start counting from 0. So 0 is this, sub 1 is this, sub 2 is this. So therefore this would give me 3, the third element. Okay, now let's put that in a cout statement and see what we get. So let me make this small and go to the terminal here. So I'm going to compile my code. I'm going to execute it to see what I get. So I got 3. 3 was output from this statement right here. Because integers is an array, you're trying to refer to the 0, 1, 2, third element, which is 3. Okay, with by coincidence is also 3, but we can change that to 8, for example, or 7, something, and see what we get. Compile and execute the program, we got 7. See, the third element is displayed. You could change that to 0. Try it again. We expect it to be the first element of the array that's going to be displayed, which is 1 right here. Indeed is 1. Let's see the last element. We have an array of size 6, so the last element has to be 6 minus 1, size minus 1. That's the element, the last element, which is 22 in this case. So we expect 22. That's what we got. Okay, but doing like this is not sometimes very useful. So what you want to do is you want to loop for your data. So you can do a for loop to go through all the elements of the array. So we do for. Let's do an I start from 0 because the array elements are counted from 0, and you're going to go all the way up to the array size minus 2. In this case, we're just going to say 6 minus 1 is just 5. And then you're going to increment for each iteration. I'm going to put that statement there and make a change here. Instead of having 5, we're going to put sub I, because I is going to be looping from 0 to, sorry about this, it should be equal here, less than or equal. And so it's going to be looping, I is going to be looping from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 5, which is when the loop will terminate when 5 becomes 6, and this condition is no longer true, so it terminates. So it's going to count and display all the values in the array, integer sub 0 through integer sub 5. Okay, so we can make a change here and add the index too, just to see what we get. I'm adding the index to be shown too. Let me just split into two statements to make it easier for you to see. So we're just going to display the sub I to see what the value of I is for each iteration. And you want to follow that with the value of the array at that I value. Compile, execute. As you can see there, I forgot to save. Compile, execute. So sub 0 is 1, sub 1 is 4, 8, 8, 13, and 22, exactly the values in the array, right? So we went through each value starting from the first element, which is 1, and that's sub 0, and then 4, 7, 8, 13, and 22, which is sub 5, the last element of the array of size 6. Okay, so far we learned how to declare an array and initialize it to some values, and then how to display each element of the array using a for loop. Now let's say you want to create an array of floating point numbers. So how would you do that? So let's go through this one more time. What is the type of array we're trying to create here? We're trying to create an array of floating point numbers, so it's type float. Now I'll give it a name, I don't know, numbers. Now, how many elements do I want this array to have? You can say right here, let's say 4 elements. I can declare like that, or I can just initialize it. So let's give it some sample values: 2.37, 4.8, 12.4, 8.9. Now it's 4 elements, so I have to have 4 elements in between the braces, and don't forget the semicolon to finish the statement. Now we have declared an array called numbers, array of floats, 4 elements, and defined it with these values. Now we can use it. We can do a for loop as we did before to display each value. For and I count from 0, go all the way up to the size minus 1, which is the last element. We could say less than or equal to 4, or we could say less than or equal to 3, or we could say less than the array size, which is 4. This time I'm doing it different from the previous time, which I used less than or equal to. Now I'm using less than. With less than, all you have to do is put the array size here, so you don't have to worry about the offset. And then I++. So we want to let's say I want to display each element value. I say cout. How do I access the array values? I use the array name with the brackets operator, but you have to say which location. It starts counting from 0. With 0 through 1, 2, and 3 for this case. So the I is going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, and it's not going to be 4 because this condition will be false at that time. So you have to say I here because I is going to be iterating and changing. And then put a break, line break here, just make things nicer, and let's try that out. Compile my code, source code. What did I do here? Less than 4. Okay, let's see what I did wrong. Too many decimal points in number.